Thank God you're all right. If you squeeze me any harder, you might finish me off, he said. They crawled back under the tower, this time being careful to touch nothing. Within 5 minutes, the storm had passed over. A light rain continued to fall, but all the noise of the thunder rumbled a goodbye. Johnny stood up, a bit achy, and walked over to the car battery. At least it didn't explode, he said. You mean it could have? Emmy asked. Sure. You mean we could have been covered in battery acid? You never told me that. You're a smart girl. I don't have to spell everything out, do I? She just shook her head and muttered, Incredible. Johnny pulled a pocket multimeter from his bag and tested the battery with it. He said, it's not fully charged, but it does have some power. Get down! Emmy urgently whispered as she pounced on him, knocking him to the ground. What are you? Shh! Look. 2 men passed through the Granville house property, heading in the same direction that Ben had gone. Do you know them? Asked Emmy. Yeah, Johnny replied. The white guy in the overcoat is Old Man Warner. He owns a drugstore and soda shop near Duke University. The black man is a hobo. I think his name is Clarence. He came to my house Halloween night. A mysterious boy who helped us with the Confederate gold case put a note in my trick-or-treating bag about him. What? When? When we were trick-or-treating, of course. What did the note say? It said to beware of Clarence, for good reason. Look at what it's carrying. Clarence was toting around something long and as thin as his left hand. Is it a stick? Asked Emmy. No, said Johnny. It's a Winchester 1892, a rifle. A gun? Are you sure? I'm a boy. I know about guns. He stood up. Let's go. Home, I hope. If you want to, but I'm going to warn Ben. If he finds the body they've been hiding, there's no telling what they'll do. Johnny could see Emmy's struggle, and he wished now he'd never stopped by to ask her along on this adventure. But she didn't disappoint him. Okay, she finally said, let's go. Johnny grabbed his tools and stuffed them into his bag. Then they scampered across the field toward the forest behind the Granville property. They quickly found the path the men had taken into the forest and made their way down through the thicket of the trees. Carved into the first tree immediately next to the path were 2 symbols. Johnny and Emmy had seen the first one, which looked like the hat with a pointy brim, on the gatepost out front when they came back to examine the coffin. Only this hat didn't have the pointy brim. The symbol beside it looked like an upside-down goalpost. Johnny committed them to memory in case they might hold a clue to what to expect down the path. They walked on. A minute later, they heard a loud boom. They froze in their tracks, their eyes wide. Emmy spoke. Tell me that was more thunder. Johnny could barely breathe. I wish I could, he said. That was a gunshot, and it was close. They broke into a run in the direction of the noise, which came from down the path. They quickly topped a small rise at the same time. At the same time, a break in the clouds appeared. The raindrops falling from the trees surrounded them, glistening like tiny prisms. Breaking through the trees, they came to a small clearing. A rainbow shone through the remaining mist. At the end where the rainbow met the ground, stood the hobo Clarence, along with Mr. Warner. Ben's body lay face down on the ground at their feet. Rage filled Johnny as he picked up a rock and ran at them. "Get away from him!" he screamed. He threw the rock as hard as he could. It hit Clarence squarely on the leg, and he recoiled, dropping the rifle in response. "Ah! I didn't mean to," Clarence said. "I only wanted to scare him away. He's trespassing." Johnny flung himself beside Ben's body. He grabbed Ben's wrist and checked for a pulse. Faint, but he was still alive. Mr. Warner stood stock still. Help me turn him over!" Johnny hollered at the men. Neither moved, frozen in fear. Emmy ran up and instantly took hold to pull while Johnny pushed. Together, they got Ben over on his back. Blood had pooled over his shirt and onto the dirt. He was badly wounded. Clarence caught sight of the face of the man he had shot and gasped loudly, "No! Oh, Lord, no!" He ran to the body and knelt beside it. "Dear God, what have I done? My son! Ben! I shot my own boy!" He wailed, pulling Ben's body close to him. "I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, boy. I didn't mean to." Johnny gasped at him. "Ben's? Your son? I didn't know he still lived around here. I haven't seen him in years. I thought he moved away. He wasn't here last I came," Clarence blabbed. His wails turned into sobs. "I killed him. I killed my boy." Emmy started to weep. Mr. Warner sat on a rock, his face in his hands. Johnny felt shell-shocked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The scene felt like something in a James Haney movie. Only this was really happening. He felt sick, all while wishing there was something he could do, some way he could help. "Help him," the voice had said to him. "Help him." Johnny reached into his bag. He felt the cloth. He pulled it out and handed it to Clarence. "He's not dead," Johnny said. "Use this to put pressure on the wound. Try to stop the bleeding." Clarence did, muttering through his tears. "Please, God, no. Not my boy. Please." Johnny turned to Emmy. "Go for help," he told her. "Doc Willis, Deputy Mueller, anybody. Tell them there's been an accident. Ben Huck has been shot. Tell them where we are." Emmy looked at him, pale and frozen with fear. He barked at her. "Emmy, go! Hurry!" She snapped out of it and nodded and took off back down the path toward the water tower. Johnny turned to Mr. Warner, who was still in shock. "Give me your coat," Johnny ordered. Warner didn't move. Johnny went to him and shook him. "Mr. Warner! I need your coat to cover him and keep him warm." Warner's hands trembled as he fumbled with the buttons in his overcoat. He then took it off and handed it to Johnny. Johnny took the coat to Clarence and Ben. "Keep the pressure on," he told Clarence, who nodded, still weeping. Johnny draped Warner's coat over Ben, tucking it in around Clarence's arms. Seconds later, Carl Mangle emerged from the woods. He walked up briskly. "Was ist los?" he said. "I heard a gunshot." And he stopped, taking in the scene, and then bellowed at Clarence. "Von Walter! What have you done?" "I didn't mean to, boss," Clarence said. "I saw a feller from behind. He was poking around, and I thought I'd give him a good scare." Clarence wiped Ben's brow with his left hand, all while keeping the compress firm against the root. "I never was a good shot. Can't hit a thing I aim at. And here I was trying to miss. And I shot him. I shot my own son." Mangle was visibly shaken. "Your son?" he said. "You never told me you had a son around here." "Es tut mir leid." "I'm sorry, Clarence." Johnny exploded. "You're sorry? You're sorry? Why? Because it's his son who was shot instead of some other random person you don't care about?" Mr. Warner moaned. "We're going to jail, aren't we?" Rushkin, Son, Ost.